please welcome the founder of Starter Studio, Greg Pollock.
As somebody who really values honesty and integrity, I'm noticing I'm a little nervous to share this story with you. I'm afraid you might think less of me, you might think I'm dishonest, but I'd like to be open about it if that's okay. Right. So it was about 15 years ago. I was working as a data warehousing engineer at a company called mp3.com in San Diego, and it was the end of the day on a Friday. And I had a script I needed to run against a database, but it was going to take a while. So I ran it, went home for the weekend, didn't think much more about it. Sunday morning I figured I should probably check in on it. So I dial in, I take a look at the database, but it doesn't look like anything's run. Something's wrong. So I'll have to run it again. So I run the script again, enjoy the rest of my Sunday. Monday morning I come into the office, we do our normal Monday morning stand-up, and my boss does not look happy. He says, so the database guys have been here all weekend. Apparently, somebody wrote a script and ran a script Friday night that blew away all 150 million email records. That's our entire database. So, database guys came in on Saturday, worked all day to restore from a 2-week-old backup. So we lost the emails the last 2 weeks, that's bad for business. And then they went home Saturday night. Sunday morning, script ran again, blew away all 150 million email records in the database. Database guys come back in Sunday morning, spend all day restoring the database, and yeah, so does anybody know who wrote and ran this script? I'm a little ashamed to say that I did not fess up. I'm really ashamed to admit that. It wasn't until about a week later that I was discovered and I came clean. But how does that happen? How does somebody who cares so much about honesty and integrity stay silent? Well, I think it's partially due to the fact that our office environments are closed. We say things like, check your feelings at the door, like just you know, your vulnerability doesn't belong here in the workplace. We say, you know, hide your fears, like, you know what, we don't hear about your fears. And the problem with that, you know, in that moment, in that room, man, I had so many fears. I was afraid of getting in trouble, afraid of not getting the next raise, afraid of getting fired, afraid of being outcast, afraid of looking stupid or incompetent or not being likable or being rejected. And when I'm not able to be open about my fears or I'm not conscious of them, what do? I get defensive, I over-explain, I interrupt people, I stop listening, I start blaming people, I start trying to control people, or like I did back then, I withdraw into deadly silence. So that's a problem. Because when people start to get defensive, that leads to failure. That's why meetings go badly. That's why projects go over budget and fail. That's why companies fail, is because people stop being open about their fears and they stop communicating effectively. When we have open office environments, it starts to become safe to say things like, I'm not sure about this, I'm confused, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling good about this decision, I'm getting tired of working on this project. Can I get some help here? Or maybe just, I made a mistake. I found a lot of meaning in creating these kind of office environments where people are not afraid to be themselves and be open about their fear. I've done it with MB Labs, with Code School, with Starter Studio. And I want to give you guys 5 tips right now that even if you're not the boss, you can take back to your work environment on Monday and try to make them a little more open. Starting with building trust and friendships. When I think about times when I've had to receive feedback that was really difficult for me to hear, and I didn't take it personally, it was because I trusted the person who was giving it. I knew they had my back because they had taken the time to develop a relationship with me. Step 2 is to be open about your mistakes, especially if you're the boss. The next time you make a mistake, be loud about it. Say, here's the mistake I made, and here's what I'm doing to make sure it doesn't happen again. You make it acceptable for other people to do the same thing. Step 3 is to realize that vulnerability is courage. When I'm open about things that I feel that are mistakes that I made, it feels vulnerable, and I might choose to interpret as weakness. That's human. I'm afraid of getting voted off the island. But in reality, when I'm open to you guys about the biggest fuck up of my career, do you see that as weakness or courage? Step 4 is to stop withholding. I try to live by this mantra. If you have to think, should I say this? The answer is almost always yes. But it's difficult because there's fear standing in the way. So I'm going to give you all a technique that you can use when it becomes difficult to communicate. It's called first truth first. So first what I do is I think about what is that thing, what is that fear that's preventing me from being open? And I'm going to say that first, and then I'll ask permission to speak, that's optional, and then I'm going to be open about what I want to get across. It might sound like, hey boss, my fear is that you're going to think I don't appreciate everything you've done for me, or that you think that I don't really love working here, but I do. I just would really like to have a conversation about compensation. Or it might sound like, hey Tim, appreciate you explaining that marketing plan to me, and I appreciate that, but my fear is here, I have something I want to tell you, but I'm afraid you're going to get angry, or think that I wasn't listening, but I don't get it. Could you just maybe explain that to me one more time? Or, what I wish I would have done back in San Diego at mp3.com, I wish I would have said, hey guys, I have something to tell you. I'm afraid you're going to think I'm stupid and be angry at me and be frustrated at me, but I think I might have made a mistake. I think I might have been the one that deleted all 150 million emails twice.